Hi, I am General Tony Zinni, and I command the U.S. Central Command. I would like to speak to you about a very serious threat, anthrax. For the next several minutes, I ask that each of you pay particular attention to the following presentation on the anthrax vaccine immunization program. I especially want you to learn about the preventive measures the Department of Defense has taken and is taking to protect you personally. Conflict or crisis may bring you under my command. As a commander, I am personally concerned for your safety and well-being. We know that anthrax was mass-produced by the former Soviet Union and by Iraq. Forces under my command and forces operating in and around my area of responsibility face a grave and urgent threat every day. History shows that Iraq used chemical weapons in the Iran-Iraq War and against its own people. I have little doubt that Iraq is willing to use weaponized anthrax against us if they believe it is to their advantage. Anthrax is obviously the #1 biological threat that faces our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines today. Fortunately, we have a safe and effective countermeasure to combat the anthrax weapon, the anthrax vaccine. Your senior military leaders recognized the threat early and were decisive in securing a stockpile of anthrax vaccine for your use. We started this program to protect you, our greatest asset. Let me emphasize, though, that this is obviously a commander's program. It cannot work without the support of commanders at all levels. I am counting on commanders and non-commissioned officers at all levels to get you the facts, so you'll understand the biological threat and the biological answer, vaccination. Remember that every conceivable effort has been made to ensure your safety while accomplishing the mission. It personally motivates me to know that we have an effective plan to beat this deadly threat. Please pay close attention to the experts on this tape as they give you an overview of the anthrax vaccination immunization program.
Hi, I'm General Ron Blank, and I've been asked by the Secretary of Defense and the Army Chief of Staff to oversee several critical aspects of the Department of Defense Force Health Protection Program. Perhaps the cornerstone of this effort is our vaccination program to immunize the force against the deadly disease anthrax. Remember, we've been immunizing our forces for years against a variety of diseases. And with the possible exception of safe drinking water, vaccinations have done more to improve our quality of life and reduce death than any other medical intervention known to man. The anthrax vaccination program is merely a continuation of the Department's long-standing and successful immunization program. As you view this video, I ask you to remember 3 basic messages. 1. The end of the Cold War has brought about a new era that confronts us with an uncertain and challenging future. Our forces will operate in an increasingly lethal battle space that includes the potential use of biologic agents, and this represents a grave and urgent threat to all of our forces. 2. Anthrax is a horribly fatal disease and represents the most prominent of these biologic threats. 3. We have a safe and effective vaccine, licensed and approved by the Food and Drug Administration, that's proven to effectively counter this threat.
As the United States prepares to meet its global leadership responsibilities for the new millennium, the U.S. military must be ready to respond to any threat from any adversary, no matter how dangerous and lethal these threats may be. Many of these potential adversaries possess a variety of capabilities, ranging from conventional military forces to weaponized biological agents. Indeed, some of our adversaries readily announce their willingness to use biological weapons, even though they are banned by international agreement. If used against unprotected troops, biological weapons can cause untold devastation. In an effort to counter the threat to our forces, the Secretary of Defense directed anthrax vaccinations as part of a comprehensive force health protection program. This video is about diffusing a grave and urgent threat imposed upon our national security and protecting the men and women who protect our nation's freedom. Because the threat is real.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Randy Randolph. I'm speaking on behalf of the Anthrax Vaccine Immunization Program Agency, the AVIP agency. Our office serves as the focal point for information regarding this program personally directed by the Secretary of Defense. The AVIP agency fills an extremely important role in both managing the program and educating the force. There is no more important business than that of protecting you, the individual soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, and Coast Guardsman. There can be no more important endeavor than ensuring you remain healthy, fit for combat, and preeminent in any form of conflict. The American military represents the most powerful armed force the world has ever witnessed. The objective of the AVIP is to provide you with yet another coat of armor in our defense to maintain that level of dominance. The Secretary of Defense directed implementation of the AVIP on 18 May 1998. He did so after carefully analyzing the threat, thoroughly reviewing the overall program, and mandating several conditions prior to implementation. It's important for you to know the considerations, safeguards, and precautions that were prescribed by Secretary Cohen. Every lot of anthrax vaccine is tested for potency, purity, sterility, and general safety. Automated tracking systems are used to ensure accurate and consistent record keeping for every vaccination administered. Each service developed comprehensive implementation plans that include troop education and communication programs. And the health and medical aspects of the program were reviewed by a former dean of the medical school at Yale University.
The sole purpose of the anthrax vaccination program is to provide our military personnel protection against the biological agent known as anthrax. As a Navy hospital corpsman, I believe in this vaccination program. This vaccine is safe and effective and is right for the military. In my 17 years of service, I've developed the utmost respect for our brave young men and women who I've served with. The threat of biological weapons is real. The time is now to vaccinate against anthrax.
Anthrax vaccine is a wonderful vaccine. It works, we know it works, and we know that it's safe. We know the preventive measure is the best form of protection.
A former director of the CIA recently remarked that germ terrorism is the single most dangerous threat to our national security in the foreseeable future. A 1997 report of the Quadrennial Defense Review concluded that biological weapons are a likely condition of future warfare, and radical states and terrorist groups have become increasingly vocal about their willingness to use biological weapons to achieve their political aims. Aum Shinrikyo, the cult group responsible for the 1995 Tokyo subway attack, experimented several times with the release of anthrax before resorting to sarin gas. This represented the first time in history that a non-state actor, an independent terrorist group, actually employed a weapon of mass destruction. We learned in the aftermath of the Gulf War that Iraq had enough anthrax spores stockpiled to kill every man, woman, and child on the face of the earth. A year later, the former Soviet Union revealed they had maintained a stockpile of weaponized anthrax that greatly surpassed even that possessed by Saddam Hussein.
The single driving force behind this SecDef-directed program is simple: the deadly effectiveness of biological weapons of mass destruction. Intelligence analysts will tell you if you wanted to engineer the perfect biological warfare agent, you couldn't do better than anthrax. It's incredibly lethal. You can't see, taste, or smell anthrax spores, and the inhalational form of the disease is nearly always fatal for people who are both unvaccinated and untreated. Anthrax is easy to weaponize in large quantities. It can be stored for decades without losing its viability. It can be launched in virtually any weapons system imaginable. And for many of our potential adversaries, it has become an economical way to counter our conventional and technical superiority on the battlefield. It is for these reasons it is often referred to as the poor man's atomic bomb. Several of our potential adversaries are pursuing an offensive biological weapons capability, and our threat assessments indicate that they have both the means and the political will to employ these weapons against our forces. You can contract anthrax 3 ways: through your skin, by ingesting it, or by inhaling it. Inhaling anthrax is our greatest concern. This is the manner we suspect it will be delivered on the battlefield, and we know that you can inhale enough spores in a single breath to infect you with the disease. Fortunately, American medicine has provided us a very effective countermeasure to the anthrax threat, a vaccine that has been licensed by the Food and Drug Administration, produced and used commercially since 1970. The anthrax vaccine is a sterile product made from cultures of a killed, non-infectious strain of the bacterium. It contains no live or dead organisms and could not possibly cause the anthrax disease. The vaccine is safe and has been shown to be effective in preventing all forms of the disease, inhaled, ingested, or absorbed through the skin. I'm sure that many of you have questions about the disease, the vaccine, and the program. I've assembled a panel of leading experts to personally answer them for you.
I've heard this vaccine is experimental. Is it really safe?
Does the anthrax vaccine have any side effects?
The anthrax vaccine is a safe vaccine. It has basically the same kind of side effect profile that we see with any vaccine. Vaccines, in fact, are the safest of all medicines. They have the fewest side effects. Now, that's not to say that there are no side effects from anthrax vaccine. There certainly are. So let's say that 100 people were vaccinated. If it was 100 men, we would expect 30 of them to have a local reaction at the injection site. Women develop injection site symptoms about twice as often as men. Symptoms might involve soreness, redness, pain, itching, swelling or inflammation, that kind of thing. Most reactions go away after a couple of days for both men and women. About half the people who get vaccinated develop a lump or a knot at the injection site. Lumps can persist for a few weeks. Between 1 and 5 people out of 100 will have a larger reaction at the injection site. The swelling or the inflammation might be an inch in diameter, maybe even 5 inches. Less often than that, less than once per 100, will the reaction be larger. Another possibility are events that happen away from the injection site. They're called systemic events. Things like muscle or joint aches, chills, fever, malaise, that kind of thing. Out of 100 people, both men and women, maybe 5 to 35 will notice these kinds of reactions. The common ones pass fairly quickly. In an Army study in Hawaii, 15% of folks reported a noticeable muscle ache that lasted for a few days. Over-the-counter medications before or after the vaccine can help reduce bothersome symptoms. Now, severe allergic reactions can happen after any vaccination, but less than once per 100,000 doses. So the bottom line is, the anthrax vaccine is consistent with other common vaccines. I recommend getting this vaccine without any reservation.
Hello, I'm Dr. John Sever. I am the chairman of the Anthrax Vaccine Expert Committee. The Anthrax Vaccine Expert Committee is an independent civilian committee under the auspices of the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. The committee is composed of civilian physicians who are expert in specialties such as internal medicine, neurology, immunology, microbiology, and rheumatology. The committee meets approximately every 2 months to assess adverse events following the administration of anthrax vaccine and to determine a causal relationship, if possible, between the adverse event and the anthrax vaccine. The reports of adverse events are submitted by healthcare personnel, vaccine recipients, or their families to the Vaccine Adverse Reporting System. The Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention also review the reports. As of September 1999, more than 330,000 military personnel had received about 1 million doses of anthrax vaccine, and the committee has received and reviewed 243 adverse event reports. Most of these reports include significant redness and swelling at the site of injection, with or without systemic symptoms, such as flu-like symptoms. A small number of individuals had more serious reactions, which required further evaluation, treatment, or waiver from further doses of vaccine. The committee is looking for possible clusters of adverse events or more serious or persisting events which may be related to the vaccine. The committee has also recommended the preparation of expanded guidelines for the management of adverse events associated with anthrax vaccine and has encouraged further studies. Based on the review of these adverse events, it is apparent that it is safe to continue the anthrax vaccine immunization program of the Department of Defense, and it is appropriate to continue to monitor the vaccine adverse event reports and review the safety of the vaccine on an ongoing basis.
I heard this vaccine can cause birth defects and it can cause cancer. Is this true?
After 30 years of using this vaccination, there is no evidence of either birth defects or cancer as a result of it. Now, a parallel question would be, should people that are pregnant be given this immunization? And by just natural good medicine, we don't give immunizations to people who that are pregnant.
Did the anthrax vaccine have anything to do with the Gulf War illness?
Many people have been concerned about a possible relationship between immunization to protect against anthrax and the later development of Gulf War illness. Let me say as strongly as I can that there is no evidence at all for such a relationship. This has been studied by scientists in several countries. The data, pro and con, have been reviewed by numerous very authoritative scientific bodies, and there is no evidence for such an association. So I think that we can put that old myth to rest.
I heard that the anthrax vaccine contains something called squalene, and that it can cause you to get sick.
There is not, and there has never been, any squalene in the anthrax vaccine. But what is squalene? Squalene is a naturally occurring biodegradable oil made by the human body, and it's a large part of the oil on the skin. It's a vital precursor and building block in the synthesis of cholesterol and numerous hormones, including sex hormones. However, to alleviate any concern about squalene and to confirm the absence of squalene in the anthrax vaccine, numerous lots of anthrax vaccine have been tested by an independent, non-profit research laboratory that's not connected with the military. In a test that could have detected the amount of squalene in a small fingerprint, there was none found whatsoever. Therefore, there is no squalene in the anthrax vaccine.
As you can see, experts in medicine and research wholly endorse the anthrax vaccine as a remarkably effective countermeasure to the threat of anthrax. This vaccine is as safe as any that we've used here in the United States. Previous studies demonstrate that the side effects for this vaccine are less than many of the vaccines we require of our children before they can enroll in the public school system. Nearly every public health organization in this country recommends the use of the vaccine for those occupationally at risk. We consult frequently with the Department of Health and Human Services, the private sector, and numerous academic health centers to ensure the continued success of this program. With more than 45 years of research experience with this vaccine, 30 years of commercial use, and the continued validation by the Food and Drug Administration, we know this vaccine provides an exceptionally safe and protective countermeasure to the prevailing threat of weaponized anthrax. We know that many of you are asking, when will I be vaccinated? Well, the short answer is it depends on where you're assigned in your unit's mission. There are 3 phases to the anthrax vaccination program. Phase 1 began in March 1998 and is vaccinating forces assigned to or rotating to the high-threat areas, generically defined as the Arabian Peninsula, Korea, and Israel for any period of time. Phase 2 will vaccinate forces that would deploy early into those same high-threat areas in the event of a conflict. Phase 2 will begin only after we have assured production of new vaccine following FDA approval of Bioport's renovated production facility. Phase 3, the final and sustaining phase, will vaccinate the remainder of the force, including new recruits. We've administered well over 1 million vaccinations to hundreds of thousands of service members. The anthrax vaccination program is absolutely critical to combat readiness. Our forces face a grave and urgent threat from the use of weaponized biological agents by rogue nations, terrorist groups, or other potential adversaries. Anthrax has become one of the primary weapon systems in their arsenals. Anthrax vaccination is but one component of a comprehensive force health protection program that includes the proper maintenance and wear of the protective mask and suit, employment of detection systems, use of surveillance capabilities, and immunization with a safe and effective vaccine to provide a network of defense to protect our forces.
I've been asked to talk to the men and women of the armed forces about the anthrax vaccination program. No matter what uniform you're wearing, we all have the same mission: and that is to serve and defend our country. Our senior leadership has come to the conclusion that future battlefields have the potential of major biological threat. I have led soldiers well over 20 years, and I can tell you that all the training, sustaining, and maintenance that we do is still not enough to protect us from this threat. We need to take the anthrax vaccination. This program has been tried, tested, and proven to be effective. We need to put our trust in our leadership today, as many of us have done in the past. Let's take care of business and lead from the front.
My name is Lieutenant Colonel Philip A. Smith, and I'd like to talk about the anthrax program of the Department of Defense. I work here at the headquarters at the Pentagon on strategy, concepts, and doctrine. I support the anthrax program because I think as a warrior you need to be prepared for whatever threat that's out there in the world. I've had the shot 4 times. The first time I had the shot was in Saudi Arabia, 2 days before Desert Storm. Then I began a battery in preparation for going to Korea, and I had the shot in 3 sessions 2 weeks apart. The first time I had the shot back in Saudi Arabia, I had a knot underneath my skin for a couple of weeks. The second time I had the shot here in the building just a few weeks ago, I had a rash in the same raised area on the skin and a little bit of inflammation. But they went away in about 2 weeks before I got the second and third shots, and after then I didn't have any sort of adverse effects other than that raised bump underneath the skin. I support the anthrax program. Really, we need to be prepared, whether it's wearing armor in medieval times or a gas mask in World War I, because the threat is real.
The AVIP received careful and considered attention before implementation. It has been one of the most scrutinized vaccination programs in modern times. This is a commander's program that is focused on protecting you, our most vital and cherished asset. We are committed to your health and protection in all your military endeavors. This program is for the entire force. We'll do everything possible to keep you up to date about the program and keep you posted on the vaccination schedule. If you have any further questions, visit us at our website, give us a call, or send us an email. The information to contact us is coming up at the conclusion of this video. Thanks for your time.
For more information, visit our website at www.anthrax.osd.mil. Call us toll-free at 1-877-GET-BACK or email us at avip@otsg.amedd.army.mil.